What was once dead is now alive once again. Honey, I'm home. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the podcasting booth, it returns. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Dark Avenger podcast.
I got something to say, so listen good. Ain't nobody gonna jump on me, cause there's a price that we pay, and I think we should. Why can't people just let me do?
It's back. What's going on, everybody? I'm Chris, and you are back with me once again on the Dark Avenger podcast. It's been about a good, I'd like to say, couple of months at least since I've actually sat down and recorded one of these episodes. Things happened in the past, and unfortunately the podcast went dark, but here we are on YouTube. As I titled these, the YouTube files, that's what the YTF stands for next to the number, for those of you wondering, but we'll get into that in a moment. But it's back. Like I said, I finally have the opportunity to jump into this, and there are many reasons, and I'm going to get into a lot of that. This whole episode is going to be a reintroduction to the Dark Avenger podcast, where things are going to be going, why it's on YouTube now, what the future has in store for this podcast, things I'm going to be doing in the future, looking back at 2016, the good and the bad. And then let's talk about a little bit of comics. Not really specific comics, but just comic books in general. So guys, sit back, pop a soda, and relax with me, and we're going to go through things one topic at a time as I take a sip of my soda, and there'll probably be a little bit of a pause. So let's reintroduce this podcast. For those of you that don't know what the Dark Avenger podcast was, it was a podcast where I sat down and discussed certain topics per episode, and that seemed to work the first time around, so I'm going to keep it going for this show. However, things are going to be a bit different. Now, to reintroduce this show, I have to talk about what's going on the YouTube channel first. A little over about a month ago, I came across this video that was talking about all the changes and all the little things that are going on with YouTube. And suffice it to say that whenever you hear there is changes that are hurting channels, that gets you a little nervous, especially because, you work on YouTube and you don't want to lose your subscribers. So I listened into the video and I listened to all the changes and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the video, this guy went into vlogging, which is what I was doing on this channel, and what I will do still from time to time. Now, originally, my plan was I was going to have a vlog or two every single week, vlogging something, doing something, talking about whatever. And after watching this video, I realized that I don't want to be vlogger number 1,952 million, which is what a lot of people are doing on YouTube now. And I've watched and I've seen a lot of relationships and friendships and family actually break up, and it caused a lot of problems. And I noticed it a lot during Thanksgiving, when I wanted to record a bit for a vlog on Thanksgiving, and my family wasn't exactly very receptive about, recording at the dinner table, or, it was very busy. And every time I wanted to record something, it was like mayhem. Not bad mayhem, but like, the busy mayhem. So in the end, that's when I started thinking about it. And then I saw that video not a couple of days after, and I said, you know what? I'll vlog still every now and again. I might do a mail episode if I ever get something big. But for the most part, I think me and vlogging as a full-time thing for this channel, yeah, that's not going to happen. I thought it would, and it just isn't. I also mentioned I wasn't going to be doing series, and I did say, when I mentioned that, I said, never say never, because you never know. And here we are with episode 1 of a series. A podcast, but still a series. And as you guys saw at the beginning, the big spinning Z4, the Dark Avenger podcast, is a proud member of the Zone 4 Podcast Network. This is not, I want to state this before we get into anything with this show. This show is not It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's a Podcast, and it is not replacing It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's a Podcast. That show still will be going on at some point soon. There are major differences between this podcast and that podcast, and I will get into that as I talk about this podcast. But It's a Bird, It's a Plane is a podcast is a specific topic, whether it be comics, movies, TV, what have you, show. On there, I will be talking about comic books. I'll have guests on. I'll be discussing major topics, maybe San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, comic book, breaking news, whatever. This show is going to basically take over the spot of my vlogging. This is going to be me sitting down talking about random topics that don't have to involve comic books or movies or anything except generalized, basically anything. See, for example, this show, I want to go off the cuff, so I'm not going to be editing the show at all. We're going straight through, so if I start screwing up my words, I apologize, and it'll only be for this show. But this show is going to be more of a generalized podcast. It's going to be about everything. Life, what's going on, my thoughts about what's going on in general. Now, there are two topics, however, I will not touch on this podcast. And if you guys know me, you know exactly what those two topics are. Number one, politics. I don't get into it. I don't care about it. I know it's an important part of everybody's life or whatever. I don't discuss it. I don't talk about it. And to be honest, if I can avoid it, I do all the time. Second thing, I'm a born, raised Catholic person, but I do not talk or share my religious beliefs or religious discussion on my podcast. So don't expect religion or politics on the show to ever happen, because it's not. There might be the occasional Trump joke. There might be the occasional joke about things in general, but nothing involving discussion or in-depth discussion when it comes to either of those topics. However, there's a lot else going on. There's tons of news that comes out daily. There's tons of stuff that goes on in life that we can talk about, that I will be talking about. There is no set schedule for this show, meaning I could do one show, skip 2 weeks, and then come back with like 3 shows in the same week. I could do one show a month. I don't know how the Dark Avenger podcast will be going right now. I guess when I do have stuff to talk about and discuss, that's when I'll do it. It's a podcast, however, might have some type of I want to have at least some type of a schedule for It's a Podcast. That's going to have main topics when it comes to comic books and TV and the stuff that we talk about on Comic Frontline and stuff like that. Also, I notice I'm talking a bit fast. I'm going to slow it down a bit. Also, It's a Podcast will be posted on Comic Frontline. It will not be on this channel. The Dark Avenger podcast is the only podcast you guys are going to be seeing on this channel, and quite possibly you're going to be seeing a lot of this, a couple of vlog videos here and there, probably mostly mail time stuff, and that's about all. I just want to keep my channel moving. I want to keep it alive, and I wanted to bring this podcast back, so that's what we're doing. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of things. I mean, if you guys would like to talk about or like me to discuss anything, you are welcome, since we are on YouTube, to leave a comment in the comments below, and I will check out your comments. And if it's something I can talk about, I most definitely will. For those of you that have noticed, last weekend I actually posted up the original 4 episodes from the Dark Avenger podcast that were on SoundCloud, to give you guys an idea of what I was doing on the Dark Avenger podcast. However, I don't know why I hiccuped there, but anyway, on there I talked about a bunch of different things, and I didn't have It's a Podcast around at the time, so yes, I did get into comic book stuff, and I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to touch on something comic related, because that's what I do. And there are a bunch of projects I'm working on and a bunch of things that I'm working on that I would love to talk about, certain things that are planned for the year 2017. But for this episode, I can't talk about one specific thing that I can add to the show, that I will add to the show, obviously, when next we talk, which will definitely be after the announcement I make on Comic Frontline about one thing. But there are other things. And also, as far as this podcast goes, for now, we're going to stay on YouTube. I know if you're already going to ask me, what about SoundCloud? Will I ever go back? Will I ever try for iTunes and all the other awesome websites I was posting on again? And the answer is maybe. The answer is a very strong maybe. I might consider going back to SoundCloud and iTunes and stuff later on. But for right now, for the next couple of months, the Dark Avenger podcast these episodes will be YouTube exclusives, which is why they're called the YouTube files. Originally, I just called them YouTube episodes. Brand came up with the awesome idea of putting the YouTube files. The files thing was a great add-on, so we're going to go with the YouTube files. So, that's, I guess, why the less vlogs is going to be going on, like I said, because of the video. This show is going to be more of a generalized. This show basically is taking over the vlogs because I'm going to be talking about my life. And you guys know I'm writing a comic. So, obviously, I'm going to throw that in here from time to time. Not a lot because, I mean, you never know if I might want to do something for 529 down the road. I mean, I'll talk about specific things. But if I ever do make a 529 podcast or something like that, then I might not. But for right now, there's no 529 podcast, so I could talk away about my comics. Or my comic. I only have one comic right now. I mean, you never know what the future holds, but for right now and for the foreseeable future, we're going to be sticking with the one comic. Because making a comic, guys, I gotta tell you, if you want to go into writing a comic book, and yes, I do go off into tangents. I'm already breaking my own so now my own rundown of things that I wanted to do. I'm breaking my own schedule and I'm adding to it. Look at me. But if you ever want to go into writing comics, I absolutely say if you have the finances and the heart, and when I say heart, I mean you have the drive to do it, I absolutely say give it a shot. You never know. You could be sitting on the next big thing. If you're a writer and you have a ton of stories that you've written or characters that you created, you don't know. Your story could be the next gold mine. I mean, look at the Independents. Look at all the stories that have come out. You've got Walking Dead, Lock and Key, Birthright that came out 2 years ago. People are really digging the Independents right now. And if you have a story to tell and somebody's willing to publish it, or if you're able to publish it yourself, which is even better, so this way you don't have to worry, do it. You find an artist. You know, you learn the ways. That's why having a publisher is better, because the publisher can help you in finding artists and getting things knocked out and whatnot. But if you want to do it yourself, you find somebody and you know, you ask questions and you figure it out as you go for the first book. But do it. Believe me, if anything, if I've learned anything from writing this first story arc or this first book that's coming out soon, I learned that this is something that I dreamt about, never thought I'd ever do it in a million years. Holy crap, it's so much fun. I love it. I love each and every moment. Met great people already. My artist, Lucas, is an amazing guy. I love him. I love him. He's a great artist, and he's very energetic, and he's very, his heart really is in this book as well. He's very excited about the book, and he loves being a part of the book, and that's great because you want that with your book. And getting to work with Brant a bit, you know, more on a deeper level, like as a co-writer, you know, taking stuff I wrote when I was 15 and me and him sitting down and looking at it, really examining it and translating it obviously into current day. Because when I was 15, we're talking early 2000s. We're in 2016 going into 2017. We're almost in the 2020s. Yeah, the book definitely needed some updates from the 15-ish years since, you know, I first wrote them. I've edited them my entire life, but beside the point, it needed severe updating since the last time I've updated that story. But it's a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it. If you have a dream, especially if you're young, run for it, because when you get older, when you get a lot older and you don't have the time to chase after dreams, and you start saying, I could have, I should have, don't let that be your life. Don't be the coulda, shoulda, woulda person. Be the person that says, I tried, I did my best, and you know what? Some things made it, and some things didn't. I'll tell you guys, one thing is, I've tried a lot of things. Some things did amazing, and some things did not. This channel last year, I mean, as you guys know, I try a bunch of different things, and I try to make huge impacts, and I tried this past year, 2016, to make, you know, a huge impact with this channel. I tried a bunch of different series, a bunch. I'm talking about so many, oh my god. And it took me away from Frontline, which I really didn't like. I liked working on Frontline more. And in the end, it worked for a little while, and then things started falling off, and then the inevitable happened. I basically took all the main series, moved them over to Frontline. and some things stuck, some things kind of fell off, some things I'd like to get back onto, some series that were really, I was having a lot of fun with, but things fell off. It happened, and now I'm more on Frontline again. The one thing is, I don't want this channel to fall into obscurity either. I want to keep this channel relevant because this is my channel. This is where I started. This is how it all began. So I still want to keep putting certain content on here. So even if this podcast does make it to SoundCloud again and iTunes, I'll probably still post it here too, because I'm sure there are a few people on YouTube that are going to want to listen to it here. You'll play it on your computer or whatever, and then if you can't finish it here, you can always go to iTunes. Please, if it does go to iTunes, I'll let you guys know, but yeah, please go listen to it on iTunes too, because it helps build the popularity up. But yeah, now I went into 2016 a bit. Let's talk about 2016. There were a lot of bad things happen in 2016. I'll tell you guys what. We had a lot of death, and I would like to think that it's the year started off bad, and it just kept going and going, and people kept saying 2016, please stop, please stop. Recent two people that unfortunately passed away were Carrie Fisher and her mom, Debbie Reynolds, and it hurts because you have Princess Leia who died, you have Prince who died, you have David Bowie, who is the king, who died, Muhammad Ali, who was the fighter, who died. So many, and Gene Wilder, who played a huge role in my childhood, because Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory for one, Blazing Saddles being another, Young Frankenstein being another. Yeah, it was a rough year. It was a rough year for a lot of people. Now, obviously, a lot of people, some people take it a little bit extreme when it comes to, accept, and it's hard seeing all those famous people die, all the people that, you look up to or you enjoy their music or their art or what have you, but yeah, it's been a rough year for 2016. I will say that. On the flip side, though, 2016, I finally found an artist. I was just talking about my book, so there's some positive right there. I've got another project going on that's doing really, really well. I've dropped tons of hints about it. If you guys haven't caught on, you will know by Sunday what this project is, and then I'll probably end up doing another Dark Avenger podcast talking about that for a little while and why I chose to go that route. What else happened? There was so many interesting things that happened in 2016. I got reconnected with my brother, who is actually the singer of the music for the intro and outro, September Silence. I'll have the links in the description below to his band. They're going to have a full CD coming out soon, but there'll be the music you guys hear from time to time on this podcast. I might actually take breaks when there's more music. I might take breaks in between my podcasts to play one of their songs, because I want this to feel a little bit like radio. One thing I love doing is podcasting, and if I learned anything in 2016, out of all the shows I was doing, the ones I enjoyed the most were the podcasts and the shows like Anime Weekly. I really enjoyed those where we sat down and we just talked about something and then it went up. Obviously, Anime Weekly had more of a video connected to it, but I very easily could have just turned it into a podcast like I did with my niece Bravo a few times, and I was equally as happy, and hopefully I'll get to revisit an anime-esque show next year. What else happened in 2016? I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and it's just DC Rebirth. Holy crap, how could I have almost forgotten that? DC was going to a dark place the past couple of years, and I gotta say that Rebirth definitely brought my Superman back, which I'm very happy about. And I'm just very happy with DC in general right now. I feel like at least I'm reading semi-recognizable stuff that I'm enjoying again. Superman is actually back to where he was, at least, even though we're kind of still in this mix mash of a world right now where it's going to take 2 years before this gigantic event happens, and then either things will change or they'll fix. I don't know what DC has planned or in store, but I'm just hoping that we get all the characters we lost back, and we get at least a universe that's semi-fixed, just a little bit, because right now I feel like everything's kind of a little bit, I mean, it's good, but I just feel like it's going to get confusing to readers very fast in the coming year. One sec for a sip. See, I might cut that long break out just because I don't want to have too much of a dead air on it. But Yeah, I just feel DC Comics really dug deep this year and tried to fix things. Marvel, on the other hand, I I don't know where Marvel's going. Hopefully they'll fall back on track in 2017. I will say that, but I don't even know where Marvel went. I mean, Marvel's all over the board right now with Inhumans, X-Men, X-Men versus Inhumans, Civil War, Iron Man, diversity, Iceman, diversity. You know, it's a little diverse. It's very diverse, and I'm not saying diversity is a bad thing when it's generic, which DC is doing. Thank you, DC, a great job of. But when it's kind of thrown in there for the sake of diversity, and they're actually saying, "Look, we're being diverse," it doesn't work the same as when it's organic. When it's organic, Miles Morales being an example, it's good. When it's forced, Iceman all of a sudden coming out of the closet and being like, "Hey, yeah, I like guys. Even though I've loved girls and I've had a history of there was no hint that I was gay." Yeah, and then spotlighting it and making a solo series in 2017 about it. Yeah, that's more along the lines of look at our diverse character we just reimagined. And again, I'm not against having gay heroes. I mean, we have several. We have Batwoman, we have North Star, we have several characters that already fall in under this category. There's no need to take known characters who have no tendency, no signs of being that, and throwing it in there. There's no reason for that. And that's what creating new characters is for. You create new characters. Generation X, they brought in new characters. X-Men, the mutant gene never stopped. At least that's what I believe. I don't believe it ever stopped. I mean, who knows with all the changes that have happened to X-Men over the years? Maybe it did. But prior to this knowledge, my knowledge, it was known that mutants still were being created. So you have a bunch of new characters you can create and mold into whatever orientation, whatever sexual preference you want. I don't understand why we have to take older characters that have no signs and change them instead of bringing in newer characters and giving them strong backgrounds. I think that'd be great. And it shows creativity that, hey, look, we have all these known characters, but now we're going to show you this next generation or this new group of characters that we created. And some of them will have different things about them. Some of them come from different backgrounds. Miss Marvel is a really interesting character. I enjoy reading her casually. And her book has been an enjoyment. And her leading the Champions and the Champion book in general, except for the one hiccup of the last issue, has been pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised by Champions. And that's one thing I do like about Marvel. They're throwing in little surprises, little spots of gold, or little moments, little titles that are like, ooh, this looks interesting. Guardians of the Galaxy, all new Wolverine. The announcement of the 2 X-Men books next year, Gold and Blue. Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. There's a lot of titles that are starting to peek through those little silver linings in that dark cloud that Marvel made. Hell, even Captain Marvel. I read that book this week, and it looks interesting. I mean, I was ready to hate Carol forever because of Civil War 2, and I gotta say the book interested me. It really, truly interested me to the point where I'll be like, okay, all right, I'll check out issue 1. I'll see what happens with issue 1. So Marvel's putting those little silver lining books here and there and everywhere. We're finally getting some interesting books. Other books I'm reading that I'm not really going to be reviewing, and I'm not really going to go into detail here. Star-Lord was an interesting first issue. Gamora is more of a, past kind of deal. But I'll stick with that on my own and just see how it goes. And this is leading into another topic that I'll talk about, I believe, later on. Yeah, it is later on. But other than that, I went way off topic now. That was way off. Let's rewind back a bit to 2016. 2016, we also had Rogue One, which did really great. We had some really great games this year. As you guys know, I love playing video games. Titanfall 2 was a huge. I know this is like, oh wow, this is good news. I mean, it's not like, I'm sure for people who don't play games, this is nothing. But for me, who I try to put my hand into everything a little bit. Titanfall 2 was fun. Division. I made a whole podcast. I believe episode 2 of the SoundCloud podcast was all about my first impression of the Division and what I was hoping for. And then I think I touched on it again in episode 4, which I think was the last one. But now there was a recent update on the Division called Survival, the newest DLC. And it reimagined. It's obviously just a DLC. I mean, it adds to the game, but it makes the game, the game has fun. From that last podcast, let's put it this way. From that last podcast, the game has fundamentally changed, and not in a bad way. I'm still really enjoying the Division, and there's still one more DLC to go, and that's awesome that there's still more stuff to go before we get a Division 2. I mean, we just got announced this past, I don't know what a game event it was now, but The Last of Us 2, which is great, and it looks really cool that they aged Ellie and the characters forward, and we're not going to be seeing the game for 2 years, but it looks interesting. I will say I'm going to be looking forward to that when it comes out, and I'm going to look forward to 2017. They're going to obviously have more stuff at E3 that we'll get more details on. Another thing that was 2016 that I liked was I did learn a lot of things that I enjoyed doing, and I learned a lot of things I didn't much enjoy doing. I'm touching all different levels of things here. We went from celebrity deaths to YouTube to comic books. Now we're coming back to me for a little bit. This is what I mean about the Dark Avenger podcast. Just for you guys to understand, this is a random podcast. I am a random person, so this is going to be a random show. But anyway, I learned that a lot of things that I used to enjoy doing, I really don't enjoy making videos on so much anymore. And there's a lot of things that I tried out that I learned I really do enjoy doing these videos, and I really want to continue doing them. Podcasting, this show, being one of them. I really enjoy, doing podcasts. I love doing Zone 4. I love being with Ron, Gordon, and Brant every single show. And when Mike's on, I love when Mike it's a treat when Mike joins us, because the normal cast is me, Ron, Gordon, and Brant, and then occasionally Mike comes on and switches with one of the other cast members, and it puts a new dynamic, I feel, with the cast. But I from the beginning, when I started Zone 4, I learned that I really loved it, and then Brant and I did a bunch of podcasts. You know them all. I don't have to list them all. And at some point, I'm hoping to get back to at least the Chris and Brant show. This way we can sit down, and that's more of a discussion. That's a mix mash of everything. That's going to be a mix mash of this show. It's a podcast. We're going to talk about, it's basically a generalized me and Brant show where we'll talk about anything and everything. Of course, we'll still have an agenda, just, to keep us on track so we don't go off into, outer space and come back again. But yeah, I just love that. As far as toy stuff, I used to love doing toy reviews and stuff, but I noticed it got really tedious after doing about a dozen of them. So I kind of fell off with that. I learned that I really, really love anime. I mean, I love it. I got into One Punch Man, which was a huge thing at the end of 2015. And then My Hero Academia Season 1 was spectacular, and that counts for 2016. I really love My Hero Academia. I believe spring of 2017, My Hero Academia Season 2 comes out, and I want to be on top of that. You got Attack on Titan coming out. Eventually, One Punch Man Season 2. I don't know where One Punch Man is right now. We've got a bunch of specials. The specials ended, I believe, right before Anime Weekly went on hiatus. But I want my One Punch Man, please. I really do. I would like One Punch Man back. I enjoy that, and I enjoy My Hero Academia. I still buy both of those in trade. Assassination Classroom finished anime-wise in Japan at the end of 2015. But manga-wise in America, we still have, I'd like to think, about 5 more books. I'm not sure, but I have I have the whole series pre-ordered until its final volume. But again, you know, I have a very specific type of anime I liked, and I think that what happened with Anime Weekly that kind of put it on hiatus was we were watching way too many shows. I think we were at 12 shows, which is a good 6 hours of watching a week, and it wasn't happening. It was very tedious. It was very, if we missed a show, we'd have to hold off the Anime Weekly till we watched it. Things went on over here with me. Things went on with Jeremy. Bravo sat in for a couple of shows in place of Jeremy because he was busy. So in the end, I decided to put the show on hiatus and rework it for later on. We'll talk about that for 2017. But I'm really trying to talk until I remember something else that happened in 2016. I'm gonna kick myself later because I'll remember, and I don't want to edit anything really into this podcast. I want to shoot it, once and edit it together and put it out there. But apologies if I forgot anything in general for 2016. But 2016 for a lot of people was a very blah year. One complaint I could say about myself, my own personal criticism of me, because nobody is your best critic except yourself when you could see your own faults. I was very, very relaxed this year. I took a lot of things in a very slow stride. And one thing I definitely want to make sure in 2017 is that I don't take things in such a stride, that I start to move a little bit, get things done a little bit faster. But other than that, just my goals. I guess this will go into my thoughts now going into 2017. We talked so much about 2016, and we got off track with 2016 as well. Going into 2017, one thing I definitely want to do is I want to be a little bit less relaxed. I want to be more, push forward. I want to be a little bit more, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is at the moment. I want to do more than what I did this year, that's for sure. I want to be more assertive towards a lot of things I want to do, this show being one of them, even though this is still 2016 as I'm recording this, and as this will go live, there's only 2 days left to 2016 though. Let's all be honest with each other. But I definitely want to get more done. Let's put it that way. I want to get a lot more done in 2017. There's a lot of things I'd like to do. But again, one thing I want to make sure I don't do that I noticed I did at the beginning of 2016 is I don't want to overwhelm myself with a bunch of things. I don't want to pile on 20 different shows and 20 different ideas, because that's when I get overstocked, overpiled of things. And we all think that there's 300 hours in a day, and the truth is there's only 24 hours, and we spend at least a good 8 to 9 of them sleeping. As Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you really should sleep only 7 hours. Miss an hour of sleep, but listen to his inspirational speech when he was younger if you'd like. I don't have it available. But, yeah, so you only have so many hours in the day, and then you take into account that I watch my son, I read a bunch of books, and this will go into the last subject I'm talking about, but I read a bunch of books. Right now I'm not watching anime, but when I go back to anime, limited amount of anime, even that though will be about an hour or two of viewing at minimum. I mean, that's 4 shows is 2 hours. The working with in 529, building up my imprint and my comic book. So there's a lot of stuff I'm already doing outside of podcasting and YouTube. And with all the changes that are going on with YouTube, I really don't feel as eager, or eager's a bad word. I don't feel so inclined to do newer series, because YouTube right now kind of is all over the place. People are asking other people to bell them now because YouTube invented belling, so people can be notified when a video goes up or notified when a live show happens. When originally it was, if you're subscribed to a channel, you get notified automatically. Ever since YouTube broke away from Google Plus now, notifications are push. If you make a new channel, all your notifications are through push notifications. You have to activate that. You have to allow that on your desktop. And when you're on a browser that you allow it with, like Google Chrome, then you get notifications. But if you don't put on push notifications, you will never, ever get notified if you get comments, if you get replies to your comments on videos, if people do anything like comment, thumbs up, anything to your channel, you will not know if you're a new channel. If you're an older channel that was around when Google Plus was connected to YouTube, you still have that bell because your Google Plus is still connected to your YouTube in a sense, in a way still. So we still have the bell icon, which gives us the number, which tells us what we have as far as comments and replies and stuff like that. But new channels, brand new channels since the division, you don't have that anymore. You only have push notifications, and that's why a lot of channels are now saying bell me. I'm sorry, but that's just something I don't think I could get used to. Hey guys, bell me so you'll know when my podcasts go up. Bell me so you'll know when an unboxing goes up. Bell me so you'll know if I ever decide to do a random live stream. It's so weird to say any of that, to be honest. But yeah, with all the changes with YouTube, I'm not so inclined to do new stuff on YouTube as much as I am inclined to think of new projects to do surrounding what I'm already a part of, if that makes any sense. Like Comic Frontline with It's a Podcast, Comic Frontline with the anime podcast I want to start up again at some point. This channel, obviously, I want to do the Dark Avenger podcast because it fits this channel. This channel is Dark Avenger C86. It's my personal channel. This is my, more along the lines of vlogs without video podcast. So it fits this channel. But as far as doing like newer crazy series for this channel or things for anything right now, I did try one thing. As you guys know, there's the secret project. But other than that secret project, I really don't feel very inclined to do a lot via YouTube means at the moment until things fix up. Maybe if things start fixing up, I'll want to do more on YouTube outside of, the group I work with and all connecting channels, Frontline Gaming Zone, Secret Project, and, Zone 4, Last Ember Press, which Last Ember Press, there's going to be stuff from Last Ember Press, so bell us if you haven't belled us, or subscribe at least, because there's going to be stuff on Last Ember Press soon. 529, I don't know what I want to do with on YouTube yet. I might actually do some behind-the-scenes stuff, or I might do it here and then post it on 529.com. when the website goes up, which I am working on the website. It will be up next year. I don't have a definitive date, but it will be up next year. Celestial Falcon's entire first story arc will be done next year, throughout next year, not just the beginning of the year, throughout the entirety of 2017. Really, I'm not looking to add anything new to what I'm doing right now. I'm looking to build on what I've already done myself, with other people, and in general stuff that I've been doing. I'm looking to build on. I'm not looking to add as much as I am looking to build. So 2017 is going to be a huge building year for me personally. Hopefully 2017 will not take as many celebrities away from us as 2016, because and I know a lot of people like, you can't blame the year, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's true, you can't. It's not 2016's fault. I mean, that's just a label to the year of which we are, stating is now. But still, it's been a rough year. For those of us that follow the years, it's been a rough year in general. So I'm looking forward to 2017, and I'm looking to get out of the lazy year and the year that was 2016 for me, and getting into the more building version of 2017, where I'm going to really be working on building up stuff I've had, things that I'm working on now, and things that I've been talking about for a while that being 529 and Celestial, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more as well. As far as, like I said, with this channel, there will be vlogs every now and again. I'll have something, go somewhere, do something. I'm just not going to go out of my way to really vlog or do a video or sit in front of a camera and talk, because I'm doing that right now with you guys via microphone. So this is basically my latest vlog, if you really want to consider it that. But I will be doing random live streams from time to time. I'm waiting for the first real big snowstorm to hit. You're right, I will definitely be live streaming a whole day's worth of that probably. If not, I'll find something. I will find something to live stream on this channel for a while. Whether it be, probably not video games, because that I stream on Frontline Gaming Zone, but other things, other moments, other, you know, out the window streams. May it be storm or clear day even. Maybe it's just a beautiful day or whatever, and just stream for a little while and have a fun time in the comments like I did that time we did the snow. That was fun. I made a lot of really nice friends during that time, met a lot of new people who popped in and chatted in the comments, and that was fun. And that's another thing, is I want to make sure that work does, the fun and the stuff that I do on YouTube doesn't start to feel more like work, more like I wake up and I'm like, ugh, I gotta do this, this, and that. I want to wake up, and I know you can't wake up and be 100% all the time. Oh boy, I'm gonna do this. No, you can't always be like that. But at the same time, I want to have a nice in-between. A moment where I wake up and go, okay, today I have this, this, and that to do. Oh, cool. And maybe I'll throw in something else, or maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do a little bit of that. Or I just don't want to have the, like, ugh, I gotta move, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Lord knows how many times I fell behind because I'm reading so many comics that my comic review, like this week and last week, especially because of the holidays, the comic reviews have been on Friday. Last Friday was a live stream. This podcast should be live on my channel by Friday. So tonight will probably be another comic book live stream, or comic review, I'm sorry, live stream. And I don't want it to get tedious. I still want it to be enjoyable. When things get to be so unfun that you're starting to consider dropping them, that's when there's a problem. And that's why I stepped back and really tried to reassess a lot of the projects that I was enjoying, but then things got a little bit too crazy. And I'm going to work on rebuilding them in a more doable way in 2017. And this podcast was doable. The problem was I was doing so many other things, way more than what I'm doing now. I'm talking about, I didn't even have a comic review. I did individual comic reviews for a good 3 months, and that took up a bunch of time, a lot of time, way more than just sitting down and doing a show did. However, in the end, all the comics are back on one show, which I can't complain about. We had 2 review shows, we then split it into individual shows, and now it's all just in one big show again. Which goes into, let's go into the comic situation I'm in right now, the little dilemma. So here's your comic book stuff. I've noticed since DC Rebirth, I'm reading a lot of books. I literally just started dropping the DC comics that I've been reading. Before that, me and Michael were reading every single DC book that's come out of DC Rebirth, including the miniseries, every single one. We literally just dropped Young Animals. As a matter of fact, we were reading Young Animals, or I was really reading Young Animals. Mike really didn't get too interested in it. Now I'm going to take another sip. But yeah, Mike really didn't get too into the Young Animals, so I took over all the Young Animal books for, I think, like 3 months. And then I was done with that. But taking into account a lot of DC comics, I started reading a fair amount of Marvel again towards the end of this year. Plus a lot of indie books. Anything that had a #1 and looked interesting, I jumped on it. And that's Killer Be Killed, Demonic, Birthright I've been reading, Saga I've been reading, Chew just finished, Invincible, which I've been reading. Paper Girls, which came out, I believe, at the beginning of this year or the end of last year. I forget what number we're up to. They're on hiatus right now. But Spawn, Al Simmons came back, so I started reading Spawn again. The second volume of Alien, Predator, Prometheus. This time it's, I think we have Fire and Stone last time. Now we've got Life and Death. Buffy, Angel, which is coming back next year. It's on hiatus right now. But the list it kept growing. Grim Fairy Tales being another one. I believe I'm reading Evil Heroes and one other series I was reading from Zenoscope that I'm not reading anymore. It ended. But it's a lot of reading. It's a heck of a lot of reading. And I'm at the point right now where I'm reading certain weeks 25 to 30 books. And it's getting a bit much. And I gotta give credit to my brother from Comic Frontline, Jay. He reads at least 100 of these a week, and he does it with ease, no problem. We go on a Tuesday show. He's read almost every single one, if not every single one of his books, and that's amazing. And I know I give myself a little credit. You know, I do a lot of things also that don't really permit me to sit down for long periods of time to read. Having a kid is definitely one of many. But I can't do that. I really can't read so many books so quickly to do a review, especially even though we do have a lot of our books via the internet. A lot of my books, I prefer to read physical books. The books that I read, whether it be through Comixology or what have you, review copies, I read them because I didn't buy them and I want to try them out, or I'm used to the digital format for that book. So if I get it physically, I want to have it physically. I want to read it physically. Anything Superman related, yeah, I'll glance at something, you know, through Comixology, but I want the physical book. I want to be able to read the book physically instead of reading it on the computer. So starting in 2017, it won't count for this comic review, which is today, or next week's comic review, which will be for the last week of 2016. But starting in 2017, I am going to take my comic pile, and taking into consideration I have this podcast back. It's a podcast is coming back. Zone 4 once a month for now. Who knows if Zone 4, you know, in the future, maybe there'll be more Zone 4. I have no clue what Brand has in store. I know that Zone 4 is celebrating a big year next year. But, again, I have many avenues to talk comic books. Even Frontline Live and Dark Avenger Live, both on Comic Frontline, Tuesday and Friday. Frontline Live first, Dark Avenger Live second on Friday. I have many opportunities to throw out other books that I read. So what I'm planning to do for 2017 is grab a good 10, maybe a little bit more than 10 books and review them on the comic review. And then every single other book that I read at a slower pace and give special shout outs to the book wherever I'm up to, whether I'm enjoying it, whether I stop reading it, whether I hate it, what have you. Basically a very, very abridged review to the point where it will be under a minute where I talk about the shout out books. And I think that way it'll give me less of a, I need to read this book. I need to read them. I need to read all of them. I got to get them done. I got to get it done. I got to get this review up. And also prevent the reviews from being late. In reading, having to really dig down and read, you know, from cover to cover, less books will allow me to get the Dark Avenger comic book review back out on Saturday or Sunday. Actually, it was Sunday most of the time. So Sunday, Monday, the latest. Then maybe on Frontline Live, have more books read, be able to discuss more books there. and then by Dark Avenger Live, have all of my books from the previous week read, and also be starting on that week's books. Because right now I feel very overwhelmed by all the books I'm reading, and I've added newer titles like White and Hookjaw, and Claws had a one-shot, Lock and Key. You know I'm reading the Lock and Key one-shot, and I already read the Lock and Key one-shot, to be fair. But it's just there's a lot of stuff. And then X-Men, the 2 X-Men books are coming out next year. I've dropped a bunch of DC titles as of January. But more is still coming. There's an event for DC coming, a smaller event coming in 2017 summer. And Marvel, I'm taking a break. I'm telling all of you now, I will casually probably read the next couple events from Marvel. Right now, I'm casually reading IVX. Inhumans versus X-Men. But I'm not reading it on the degree where I can review it. I did finish issue 0. I thought it was really good. I'm in the middle of issue 1. Again, though, I don't know what Marvel wants to do with the X-Men or the Inhumans anymore. So I don't know what if this miniseries is kicking the Inhumans into space and keeping the X-Men on Earth, or I don't know. I do not know what Marvel's doing. So I'm stepping back, because Marvel gave a bunch. I mean, coming in February, I believe there's Marvel. Oh God, Monsters versus the Marvel Universe, or Monster U. That's coming, MU. No. And I'm glad at least Marvel's giving people who don't want to read the series the ability to ignore it. Any crossover in any main series is getting its own book. It's like Amazing Spider-Man .mu instead of Amazing Spider-Man number 26 or whatever. It's its own book. I could afford to ignore it, never look at it, and I won't have to worry about reading it. A lot of these books I might skim. Again, I'm going to keep an eye on the events so I know what's going on. But to in-depthly read them, to know what's going on, I am burnt out on Marvel events. I will say that. I'm burnt out, Marvel. You have officially burnt me out on events. Civil War 2 was my breaking point. Original Sin, I loved it. I really did. I liked the crossover with the X-Men and the Guardians of the Galaxy, with the Black Vortex. And there was another crossover that was under the radar that was great. But other than those few things, it's just been no. Just I need a break. I need a nice year break from Marvel and their events, because Marvel has at least 2 to 3, 3 to 4 events a year now, and I can't keep up. Reading wise, financially, and time wise, I can't. There's just too much else I'm reading, and to be reading a bunch of indie books plus DC and Marvel, yeah, I don't have time for their in-depth humongous events. Like if I was reading just Marvel, if you are reading just Marvel, then you definitely have the time. If you have a bunch of time to read and not much to do outside of work, and getting home and whatever, then you definitely have the time if you want to put into it. Me, I've got a list of things to do every single day before even coming online. So for me, I have to ration my reading a bit more. I'll glance it. Like I said, I'm not going to completely ignore it, but I'm not going to review it either. I just can't. There's just no way. There's no way. I mean, Marvel hasn't stopped with their events for more than a month, and their events are delayed now as well. With Civil War, we already know what happens, and that came out this past Wednesday. That book should be arriving at my house today as this podcast is going live. I get my comics on Friday. I don't have it in me anymore to start reading an event that looks great. I mean, Civil War 2 looked good from the beginning, and it felt good, and then it just fell, and like that, it just went bye-bye. So, yeah, I can't. I just, and as far as the comic review, I sat down one day and I did the math. And my goal has always been, I want to make it to that 1,000th comic book review episode. So I sat down and, this August, I will be hitting episode 400. And it's been a good while. It's been a good 6 years to get to 400. No, not 6 years. That's a bit of an exaggeration. Maybe 5, 4 or 5. Every 2 years is a 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8. No, I'm right. It's been about a good 6, 7 years. And yeah, I did the math. From 400, it will take exactly 11 and a quarter, maybe more than a quarter years, 11 plus years before I hit that 1,000th comic review. That's a long time. That's a very, very long time away. We don't know where we're going to be next year. 11 years from now, we will have gone through 2 presidents in America already. And, we will be going into our second president, because every president can last about 8 years. So we will be going into our new president if this president stays the full 2 4-year terms. I'll be older. My son will be in his 10s, his mid to early 10s. And yeah, it was a goal that I really, truly didn't sit down and consider when I made it. So I'm changing that goal. I'm not going to have such a long view goal. Starting this very moment, I say it for the first time online. My goal is to make it to 500. We're hitting 400 in August. Figure there's 52 weeks in a year. And figure it'll take about 2 years before we hit 500. 2 years is a lot more doable than 11 and a half years. So when we get to 500, we'll see what happens. So that's the goal for the moment, is to get to 500, which is half of 1,000, which isn't bad. And when we get to 500, then I'll see if I want to go another 100. And then from that point on, from 400, from now on, it's to get to the next 100. And then after that, seeing what I want to do from there. For right now, I love doing the comic review. I do feel like I'm a bit heavy on books, but it doesn't mean I hate the comic reviews. I love doing my comic reviews. So I do have the oomph to want to go to 500. So that's the goal. We'll go to 500. And then we'll see if I feel this way 2 years from now when I'm at 500. Maybe things will change. Maybe I'll be heavily involved in something else. Maybe I won't have as much time. Maybe I'll have to shrink. Maybe I'll have to change the show up a little bit to keep it going. Who knows? For right now, I'm very happy with the way the show is. Like I said, though, I really need to lighten that load. And the way to do it is to move the stuff that I want to. I still want to read every single book. Every book that I get in the mail, every single book that I like reading, like all the books I've listed. I'm not going to list them again. I still want to read them. I just want to read them at an easier pace for myself and still get my review out on time and to have some stuff to talk about in different places. So, yes, the first review of 2017, we're going into honorable shout-outs, or I'll come up with a title for it. And I'm going to shout out a good half of my pile. And then we'll go into whatever books we really want to discuss. Like, I'll grab a good 10, 11 books that we will, review, like we always review, where we talk about it for more than just a minute, where we talk about it for 2-3 minutes. And then I'll have solo reviews too on Comic Frontline. So there'll be solo reviews. So there'll be books that I won't have to worry about discussing on the show that I'll have already done on Frontline. My goal in 2017, once all the holidays pass, so it'll probably be the second week of 2017 when, we get rid of the hangover of the holiday season. My goal is to do at least one solo review a week. If I can, more, depending on reading. I know 1 week I'm really going to have to power through a lot of books in order to play catch up, because right now everybody's talking about this week's books and I'm still finishing off last week's books. Not good. Really not good. So I'm probably going to power through this week. If this week has a lot of books, I'll probably power through the first week of January. It depends. Whichever week has the least amount of books, I'm going to power through it. And then from there, just jump right into the next week's books. Whatever I can jump into early enough, I jump into it, whether it be a couple of days, a week before, whatever, something. So this way I can get into the books, out of the books, get them ready for their videos, and then have the time to sit down in a relaxed, nice feeling and read more in-depthly all the books that I hadn't read yet for the comic review or for a solo review. And maybe even doing more solo reviews after I've read more books. I really need to lighten my load too. But that's a horse of a whole different color. That comes down to what I enjoy reading and what I don't. And obviously you'll see through all the drops which books I wasn't enjoying, which books that I weren't really digging, or just I didn't have the time to really get into them as much. I really like, for example, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. I don't have a connection to it. I love Gail Simone's run on Batgirl. I loved it. I read it all the way through until she left. Just not digging Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. I mean, it's an interesting story. I definitely want to have it somewhere, maybe through Comixology or somewhere where I could keep the series for later and maybe go back to it and say, maybe now I'll enjoy reading it. Now that I know, what the future, what happens in the future of DC, maybe going back. Because I noticed a lot of that, too. I went back to read a lot of older series that I gained more of an appreciation for after knowing, X amount of years in advance, what goes on. So maybe I'll go back years from now and I'll come back. I'll read what Batgirl and the Birds of Prey has now and I'll be like, I was dumb. This was a really great series. I shouldn't have dropped it. I'll feel stupid later, but for right now, there's a lot of books. There's a lot. So that's my plan, and that's what I'm going to stick to, and we'll see if it works. And that's what my plan is for the Dark Avenger podcast, and hopefully that works too. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. This is the part of the show where I'm going to say, guys, let me know what you think. What would you like me to add or talk about on this show? Would you like me to put a musical interlude in between the show somewhere, like stick in one of September Silence's songs, and I'll throw in a nice snippet, like a minute and a half or more. I don't know about the whole song, but a nice piece of the song, maybe like I said, about a minute clip in between, and then we'll go into the rest of the show. If you like the music you hear in the intro and outro, that is September Silence. Again, that is my brother's band. If you'd like to purchase the music, I will have a link in the description below, not only to September Silence's webpage, but their music page. They have all their music that you will hear on this show available for download, and very soon it will be available via CD, and you can buy it, download it, put it on your iPad, your iPod, your whatever you people use nowadays for radio, your phones, and you can enjoy some really awesome music from September Silence. There's a lot of new songs coming out soon from September Silence. But I love the music, and it works really great with this podcast. I might actually throw it into It's a Podcast as well. But yeah, go check out the website. Tell my brother I sent you. And support their music, because they've got really, really good music. And they've got a lot of really great stuff coming up soon. And if you're in the Pennsylvania Avenue, if you're in the Pennsylvania state, and you ever find out that September Silence is playing somewhere, go stop by and say, Chris sent me, and you guys are all, well, you listen to their music and come to your own conclusion, but go give their show a check out. You'll really enjoy their music. And yeah, that's about it for this episode. The rest of this show has been off the cuff since I started talking about comics, but hopefully there'll be more stuff to talk about. Like I said, this is more of a sporadic show when I have something to talk about. I'm sure I'll have a lot to talk about personally and behind the scenes wise and my comic wise and stuff like that. I will say this before I go. Announcement will be on January 1st, Sunday, Comic Frontline, it's going to be a pretty big announcement, a pretty big reveal for something I've been working on, a project that I've been working on with Michael and a few other people, and I don't want to give any more Frontline names, but other people from Frontline, let's put it that way so it'll be easier. And it built up really nice, and I'm going to be really happy when we actually make the reveal. What else? We got that announcement. Then with another announcement later on in 2017. It's a podcast. Will be coming back sometime in January, I hope. The anime show. So far, it's going to be me and my niece Bravo. I'm going to reach out to Jeremy and see if he wants to jump in on that again too. We're going to try to bring that back again with definitely way less shows. Definitely not 12. It's going to be a bit of a different format. Me and Bravo are working on a few ideas that we have. And that's going to be fun. And that's going to be podcast. It's not going to have video. It's going to be podcast version for now and for probably ever. Because I like the way the podcast versions went. And anything else that I'm building up, just stay tuned. Just really stay tuned. The first issue of Celestial Falcon should be out first quarter of this year, I hope. It all really falls on finishing the book up and getting it to print. Once it's in print, it's just a matter of whenever the printer's done with it. So, that's that. I won't speak on the Chris and Brand show because it will be a surprise when it happens. And it will happen. I'm just not telling you when. Alright, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. Take care. And I will see and talk to you guys really soon. Also, there's a donate button on my channel. You know, a lot of people have asked me for it. So it's there now. So feel free if you'd like to donate some money, show support for this show, for the stuff that I do. You're welcome to do that. That'd be great, and it'll be much, much appreciated, and definitely will get shout-outs in multiple places for whatever that money is put towards, because it will be put towards stuff online, not for my personal needs. But yeah, so guys, take care. I hope you guys are as happy as I am that the Dark Avenger podcast is back. Hopefully it won't be as long as this episode, but again, it was a reintroduction episode, and I do tend to have long-winded talking things from time to time. So, take care. Love you guys. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.